Hey everyone, welcome to Captain's Quarters Arcade. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a pretty good show. If you've seen some of the previous videos, you probably have seen the warehouse raid or buyout that me and Michael went on. And we've got some of the machines here. I'd like to show them to you and go through them, see what's wrong with them together. Maybe we can fix them. Go through the process of cleaning up, restoring it back to working condition, and hopefully you'll learn something and have a few laughs and a little fun along the way. So come on, let's take a look and see what we've got. And here we are. There's a title I've been wanting to get for a good long while, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and this is the first one we're going to take a look at and see what shape it's in. That was one of the things we didn't really get to inspect and look. All the machines were crammed and stuffed with everything piled around them. Some of them were in the back with tarps over them and things stacked on top, and other machines in front. So we just got a good look at what was there, and we didn't get to inspect the condition completely, just what we could see. So we don't know what the boards were like or insides and everything, but that's okay. It looked pretty good from the outside, so I think it'll be fixable if maybe not too difficult of a fix. We'll see what's going on. So let's get in here. This, of course, right out the bat is not a good sign, but hey, that's probably why it was there and why we were able to buy it. So I'm not complaining. I know you're not supposed to do this, but I was so excited. I was just going to turn it on and see what happened. Hopefully magic smoke won't come out, but pretty much nothing. Well, we got the soundboard bong, and that's about it. And I can hear some crackle from the speakers. Let's not leave it on too long and see what we got under here before we burn something else up here. Okay, well, all the boards are there, which is a good thing. Let me get a little closer here. Well, good news is they left the batteries here for us, so that's something we don't have to purchase. And it looks like they changed them out in '08, so bonus.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
No, unfortunately, there are batteries in here, which is never a good thing. And the MPU definitely has alkaline corrosion and probably some damage. We will see how bad it is. It looks pretty green, which is not good. Let me see if I can zoom in here. And you can see where the batteries were and the green corrosion that haunts us all in the pinball world. So we'll get a better look at that board. I'm going to get it out of there, and what I'm going to do is my little method of perhaps saving this board. We'll see how bad it is. We have to neutralize this acid damage where it's got this green corrosion on these chips. May be too far gone. It may not be. Hard to tell until we get in there and really just start the process, but we'll have to take this, desolder this battery holder, take it completely off, neutralize the alkaline damage. What I like to use is a strong acid to combat the alkaline, clean it up. Hopefully there are no traces that are eaten through. If there are, we'll have to repair them, and we'll just see how it turns out. So we're just gonna take all the plugs off of here, and just as a, if you've never done this before, I always recommend taking a photo or two or three of the connectors on there, so when you go to put them back, you won't have to question what goes where and so on and so forth. If you can take a picture and it save you some trouble, why not do it? So just take these connectors off here. This alkaline is definitely the reason it's not booting. May not be the only problem, but it's a good start with the CPU having that on there. There's usually 4 screws on, I'm sorry, 6 screws on these WPC boards. And usually you don't have to take them all the way out. You can just loosen them, and there's a notch on these that slides in, goes over the screw, and then slides down to lock it in place. So we're gonna loosen those screws up, take this board out, get a closer look on the back side too, which hopefully it's alright. And I'll go through the process of trying to neutralize that alkaline. Alright. We got our board here, and if you want to get a closer look at some of these chips, the battery holder is trash. These chips look pretty bad. They're pretty green. Like I said, I don't know if this will be salvageable or not. Hopefully it will be. From what I can see on the back, I don't know why it looks like these 2 chips here have been replaced at some point, and I'm not sure if it was because of, surely it wasn't battery damage. They just replaced these chips and kept going, but it was probably something else. So we'll see if we can get this cleaned up and what we can do about it. And also, I noticed a few other things just from looking real carefully. I mean, a quick look, not looking too carefully. That connector is pretty burnt. It's, I believe, GI of some kind. That's not uncommon for these machines that are on location, that are on 12, maybe 24 hours a day. Maybe they never get turned off. Those lights start heating up because of the pull on this, and those connectors get nice and brown and crusty and start breaking up. The connections are bad. Sometimes you can put a new connector on it and it worked fine, but if it's this brown and crusty, I suggest you replace the header pins on the board as well. Looks like we got some kind of rigged mod, not mod, but fix, I should say. Looks like these wires are probably soldered to the back where they clipped them here, so I don't know what was going on there. We'll have to dive into that as well. But right now we're going to concentrate on seeing if we can get this MPU board back into shape and what it'll do. So we'll be back in just a second. Welcome to my lab. We're in the workshop, and the first order of business to getting this thing fixed is to get rid of this terribly corroded alkaline battery holder. We're probably going to put some kind of NVRAM or some other method on here where we don't need the batteries, or at least remotely locate the battery holder elsewhere, so if it ever leaks again it won't be on here. We're never going to use this one again, it's worthless, so we gotta desolder it and get it off of there. So there's 3 points on each end that we're going to have to desolder and get that thing out of there. If you've and under here I can already see some alkaline that has seeped into the traces here. So like I said, I don't know if we're gonna do any good or not, but we'll give it a shot. But I'm using the Hakko FR300 desoldering iron to get these things on there. These things are a little pricey, but they're worth the money. It makes desoldering so much easier. So what you do, let me zoom in a little bit here. So should be able to put, you want to use the biggest tip. Well, this is the biggest tip I have. It's still very large leads on these things, but get it nice and liquefied. Put it on there, make sure the solder gets liquefied, and then get it all soaked out. You can see the clean holes now. And sometimes, even try as you may, sometimes it's hard to get every bit of that solder out of there, but do your best. Well, that piece just completely fell off as it was totally detached from the battery holder from the damage already. Sometimes the tiniest little piece of solder can keep them stuck, but if you look on the top side, you can see we got all the solder off of that one and that one, but there's still, we got the solder off of these two, but this one still got a little bit in it and has it stuck. Most important thing is don't force it, because if you force it and yank it, it's probably going to rip a trace and you're just going to rip it off the board or whatever. Make sure it is loose. You can wiggle it ever so slightly, sometimes that'll help break it loose, but do not yank it or force those connectors out of there. Okay, so got them coming off. That one's still holding on. Oh, it came on out of there. Alright, so you can see where, I think hopefully you can see it, where it's kind of turned a little darker green or black looking. That is not good. That means that the alkaline has got under the coating, conformal coating that's on this thing. You can see a good example of it here. This is a grounding plane, and it's gotten down into here where it's turned a darker green. So, and this stuff spreads like a virus, like wildfire. Once it gets under there, it will continue to creep all around in every trace and just go all over the board. So the faster you can neutralize this, the better. And like I said, this has been sitting in a warehouse for years and years, and the time may have come and gone where we can save this thing. But I'll show you what I'm going to do next and what I'm going to do it with, and see if we have any luck. Okay, the next part of this process is to neutralize that alkaline. And what you need to do is just chemistry. If you have alkaline, you want something acidic to counter it. So what you want to do is put some kind of acid on the board in the affected areas. And a lot of people use vinegar to neutralize acid, and it does okay, but I have found that it is not strong enough to really rid that board of the alkaline. It may help slow it down, but it does not get rid of it completely. You need a strong acid, and this is what I use. It's the Zep Acidic Toilet Bowl Cleaner. It is a pretty strong acid, and it really does. I've brought many boards back from the dead by getting rid of that acid and repairing any damage. Now sometimes the alkaline corrosion on there can just cause shorts on the board between traces and legs on chips and stuff, and just getting rid of that and neutralizing it can fix the board completely. Usually they're not completely dead though. They have an issue, switch matrix are messed up and different things like that. Getting rid of that corrosion will sometimes fix that. I'm a little doubtful that getting rid of that will fix this board, because like I said, it's completely dead. We're probably going to have to do more, because it can also damage components. Some of that alkaline may have damaged some of these chips or resistors or what have you. We'll just have to see. And there's probably more work. This is the first process. We're going to put this on here, neutralize it, clean it up, get all that corrosion off of there. And we may have to get some sandpaper and sand off this conformal coating, get under there, get the nice shiny copper back on, and put some more on there to neutralize it, and then, you know, seal it up and everything. But we got to start somewhere. And I usually, you know, if it's not too bad, I just use a stiff bristle brush to brush it on there real good. In some cases I use, this one looks a little rough, but a wire brush. I wouldn't necessarily recommend a wire bristle brush unless the corrosion on there is pretty extensive and you need it to kind of clean that off of there. And even so, I recommend, don't go crazy on it. Just very, very gently scrub with metal, because you could damage trace. You could do more damage than before by destroying traces or breaking legs off of chips if they're badly corroded. So just be gentle when you do something like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the stiff nylon bristle brush, and just put some on there, get it coated, and let it soak in. You can see it bubbling usually. That means it's reacting with the alkaline and doing its job, so that's a good thing. But I wouldn't recommend this. 5 to 10 minutes is usually enough to let it sit there. On this board, as bad as it is, I may go 15-20 minutes just so it'll soak in good. And then what you want to do, believe it or not, a lot of people go, you're not supposed to do that, but rinse all that off with warm water, and then I usually bathe it in like 91 to 99% alcohol to kind of flush that water, and it dries good. And then put it under a fan for 12 to 24 hours to make sure all of that is evaporated and dried out, especially if you're, before you put it back in the machine, put any electricity to it. If you're going to do something else to it, you don't necessarily have to do that. Like if I was going to sand and do something else, you can go ahead and do that, but definitely let it dry about 24 hours. I like to have a fan blowing on it to just make sure. So about 15-20 minutes, somewhere around in there. It's time to wash this off. While I was waiting, I took the liberty of getting a little sandpaper and sanding the area where the batteries were, because that looked so dark. I wanted to get that coating off of there so the acidic toilet bowl cleaner could get down in there, make sure it was getting down to the copper and neutralizing that acid. Hopefully I got enough off of there where it can get down in there and neutralize everything. Surprisingly, I was even a little bit impressed at the cleaner getting most every bit of that corrosion off of those chip legs in different spaces, and it actually looks pretty good. So we're gonna just put the board like so, and just take the water and wash all around where the cleaner was. Okay, and now we're gonna take some 91% isopropyl alcohol and just pour a little over where the water was to help, you know, get it out of there and make it dry faster. Alright, now we just let it dry, and like I said, I'm going to put it under a fan to speed that process up or get it as dry as it can and overnight before we put any electricity to it. Alright, this is what I usually do. Just set up high-speed fan, blow it on this thing, have it dry in really a few hours, if not better, but I always leave it overnight or more just to be sure. We'll let it sit here and dry, and we'll See what it looks like tomorrow. Maybe give it a try. Just see what it'll do. And we're back in the arcade, and we've given our board sufficient time to dry under the fan. We're going to pop it back in, see if we did any good. Maybe it'll at least behave differently. We know we're on the right track, or there'll be no change and it may be something else causing the problem, or this thing may be just so totally gone there's nothing to do, or it may boot and run, which would be wonderful, but we'll just have to see. I am not expecting it to fire up and boot. I would like to see a different behavior, but I don't know. We'll turn this up just in case the display happens to light up, but we'll see. Oh, well, I guess it would help if I plug it back in. One moment. Okay, we're back with electricity now, so let's give that another try. Oh my gosh, I am astonished.
Goodbye. Oh no!
I really wasn't expecting it to boot, but there you go, folks. How about that? And like I said, sometimes there may still be problems with it, but like I said, sometimes that corrosion will just cause shorts and different things to happen, and it won't boot because of that once you clean that off and neutralize that alkaline. The display looks pretty good. I can see it jittering a little bit. It's probably outgassing a little bit, so we'll probably have to end up replacing that DMD. But you can see the flashing lights, or I guess you can see, let me get the camera a little closer. You can see the flashing lights on the CPU telling us that it's communicating. Everything seems to be in working order. Let's just see if we put the balls in there and see if it'll start a game. Okay.
Thank you. And now, on with the show.
Unbelievable. We got it rolling. We'll have to do a little more testing to see if everything's in working order. You never know what solenoids may not be firing or any switch matrix problems, but that's looking good. That's looking good. All right, we're also going to go through, tear this down, clean it up, get everything working good. So I guess this is a good place to end this video. So stay tuned. We'll have more, a series of them as we go through and restore this machine, clean it up, get it working good. So thanks for joining us, and until next time.
I'm a chicken nugget.